Okay, guys, yeah, let's get into it. Sorry about the sound there, the lack of the sound. The important thing to understand is, what you're seeing in this video. You don't necessarily need sound for it. It's very simply, hopefully you can all just hear me now. If everything's okay with the sound and you can hear me, just give me a little thumbs up. But the crux of that video, it's actually something that one of the trading performance coaches showed quite a few of us traders a while back, and what the whole point of it was these children are so scared. These children are so scared of their own shadows. Not because they're not intelligent, not because of any other fact, that they simply are naive. They do not know, they do not understand that a shadow is nothing more than what's being created by the light around you. Now, the important thing to take away from this is that when we are children, it's the lack of information, it's the lack of understanding that almost makes us naive. It makes us a little bit ignorant in a sense. Now, as you grow older, as you start doing something for longer and longer, you start to create this sort of mental experience where you understand things, and you therefore start capturing in your mind experiences and certain ways of dealing with those experiences, and in a sense you almost become somewhat delusional. Now, that's the crux of it, and how I came about this whole sort of delusional topic for tonight is actually something that kind of happened with me during the week. So let's just quickly go through the concept of delusional. Now, delusional is characterized by or holding idiosyncratic beliefs or impressions that are contradicted by reality or rational argument, typically as a symptom of a mental disorder. Now, I don't agree necessarily with the last part, but I do agree with this, idiosyncratic beliefs or impressions, and that are ultimately contradicted by reality or a rational argument. And then based on having faulty judgment or mistake. Now, this is something all of us, as not just traders, but as human beings tend to have. We're all, a little bit delusional in a sense. And I'll explain to you why as we go through. So, the crux of it was, I got to a point this week. I got back to the office on Tuesday, or I got home after work on Tuesday, and I had a really sort of all these deep sort of thoughts going on in my head. There was a real sort of negative space in my head, and I couldn't quite pinpoint it. I was blaming it on everything on the outside. It was a number of things, and I couldn't shake it off. I didn't know what to do, so I let it be. I got up the next morning, and I sat down, and I wrote down every single little thing that I was thinking. Every single thought that came into my head over the previous day, I wrote them down. And when I wrote them down, I very quickly realized, well, hang on a sec. I've created a lot of these thoughts. I've created a lot of these ideas. I've almost created the scenario, the story in my head that the world is against me. I've painted this picture for myself based on my own thoughts. I had become delusional based on external information that was coming, based on my feelings, based on a number of factors. I had become delusional. I had lost the thought of what reality or rational argument was. And the only way I was managed or able to shake it off was I wrote down these things, and I realized every single thought, everything that's going on in my head is a result of me. In other words, it was in my control to be able to change it. And that's the key for this week. And I'm going to show you how to change it. I'm going to show you a step-for-step process of how to become less delusional. Okay? If you take my word for it this week and accept that you are all delusional, including myself, you are on the path of progress. Okay? Because you will only, once you accept that you are delusional, only then will you begin to see real progress. Okay, it's this delusional, the approach you're taking when you view the markets, when you view your opinion, when you enforce your opinion on the markets. That delusional is what is creating you to perform poorly, because you are enforcing what you've been taught from a young age over the years. For a number of years trading the markets, you've been taught a specific way to look at the market. You've become delusional in the way you view the market. As a result, you're not performing like you want to. Let's talk a bit more about this. So, where this whole topic of, sort of continued was, I had a conversation with a colleague earlier, and, the crux of it is, what color is the apple? And I'd like you to all just take a second now and think about it. What color is the apple that you can see on the screen? Take a while. Think about it and write down what you think the color is. Okay. Now, I'm pretty sure all of you, or most of you, have come to this conclusion that the apple is red. Okay? I think any logical, sane person would agree that this is a red apple. But what if I told you that, actually, I don't think this apple's red, I think it's yellow? What if I told you it was a pigmented apple? What if I told you it was a white spotted red apple? The crux of the matter, guys, is that what we are taught when we're young, what we are taught as we grow up, we hold on to that, we fixate onto that, and we are not willing to let go of that. In other words, I bet you, if most of you are standing in front of me now, you'd say, well, that's a stupid argument. Well, what's the point of that? Well, that is the entire point, is that you are not willing to look through the fact that actually this apple might not be red. Actually, it might not be red. Think about that. Put yourself in a different spot. What happens if this apple isn't red? What happens if this apple is truly yellow? And that's the crux of what tonight's about, guys. What I want you to understand is the markets don't reward the obvious. They don't reward. If you told me that apple's red, I'm going to say, well, brilliant, it's obvious. Everyone knows that. Okay? If the markets were rewarding the obvious, everyone would succeed. We wouldn't have such a high failure rate in trading. Right? The markets reward those who understand the rules and apply themselves according to those rules. Okay? Stop looking at the markets as wrong or right and start looking at them from a perspective of what made this market rally. In other words, if you came in, what the typical trader does is they come in on a morning, they have this preconceived idea, they've got a candle, they've got a setup, they've got a technical indicator, and they come in and they say, I want to buy this market. Why? Because, well, my predisposed opinion is that because of X amount of factors, this apple is red. This market is going to go down. Okay? And all of a sudden, when you enforce that into your belief system, guess what? Yes, it might work. Okay? But time and time again, it's not going to work. Why? Because when it is that obvious, it's not just obvious for you, it's obvious for almost every single other participant in the market. So stop looking at the apple as being red. Start looking at the apple as being yellow. Right? So when you look at the markets, say to yourself, what made this market rally today? Not, I knew it would rally, but what made it rally? What were the key facts that told me or that hinted to me that rally was on? Was there high volume? Was there volatility? Was there a breakout of a triple top on a key level that we've held for the last 12 months? What was it that gave the clue the rally was on? In other words, what fact can I draw down from the market that made it ultimately rally? Why was it aggressive there? Why was it passive at this point? What made the market go sideways today? Why were there no stops when it took out this breakout point? Note, guys, when you start to look at the market from this objective approach, okay, just like you look at the apple from an objective fact base, which is there's red, there's yellow, there's white spots, there's all sorts of things going on there. When you look at it from an objective approach, guess what? You're going to start recognizing the patterns that exist within the market, the rules that your market trade by, and not the rules that you believe they trade by. You do that, you're on the right step for progress. Don't forget, in this job, in trading, you only need a couple of prices a day. You don't need to take a million ticks out of the day. Some of the most successful traders only take a few price increments every day. Okay, there are thousands of strategies, guys. You just need to draw up, just get a 1 minute chart and you will see thousands upon thousands of strategies or movements within the market that you can learn to capitalize on. But you're going to have to get out of this ingrained belief that the markets are like a red apple, because they're not, and they never will be. Note, an apple is only red because you have been taught to identify it that way. Right? Stop being so delusional. That's the message tonight. That's the message for this week. How do you get out of being delusional? Well, you start writing it down. You start making steps in the right progression. I needed to get away from being delusional. I wrote it down. I realized I was being delusional, and that was enough for me. What are you going to do this week to stop being so delusional and start seeing through the red apple?